back to Paint Talk. Today we're going to talk about candy finishes and what they are, how they work, why they're a challenge. There's a lot of confusion about candy paint jobs out there. They are one of the more complicated finishes and most people don't really know what they are. So, for example, when somebody tells me I'm base coating my guitar in candy red, you're not. That's candy isn't a base coat. What a candy paint is a completely transparent paint, essentially. It's typically made with a dye as opposed to a pigment. So whereas your standard paint will have a ground up pigment in it that gives it the opacity that it has inherently, a candy finish has a dye mixed into a clear base, essentially. So instead of the light going in and hitting the pigment in the paint and reflecting out and showing you that color, what it does with the dye is it goes through, hits whatever's below it, and reflects back with that tint over top of it. So they do have paints out there that they call candy base coats and stuff like that. It isn't a true candy in that case. What it is it's designed to emulate that. So they've got kind of different parts in it that make it look like it has the depth of a candy finish. But a candy finish will look considerably deeper than a normal finish. Candy paints are actually what they use on a lot of very expensive cars to make them look like they've got a very deep finish. It's also what Mike Lavallee uses on his True Fire effect, and what a lot of painters since him have used for the same thing. Pretty much all of them, I think, hopefully. So like I said, a candy allows the light to pass through it, hit whatever's behind it, and come back. It requires more coats than a normal paint job. So if you're doing a candy red, typically what you would do after your primer is lay down something like a pearl silver or a metallic gold, something along those lines. And then you would spray your candy red over top of that. Right? And then, you'd put down 2, maybe 3 coats of your pearl, as usual. But the candies, people go up to 5 coats, 7 coats, depending on the depth that they want. And the light passes through, hits the pearl, comes back out, gives the finish incredible depth. So if you're not doing different coats like that, different colors on top of each other, then you're not doing a candy finish. A couple other things to note. Well, I didn't enunciate that at all. A couple other things to note. The candies are finicky. In a lot of cases, they will heat up more than your normal finish as the solvents evaporate, which can cause them to ruin masking sometimes. They'll cause it to wrinkle up, stuff like that. So you have to be careful with them. They will also seed occasionally, which means that if you've got an old mixed up candy that you want to spray, you'll see little spots in it where the pigment, the dye has pulled together, and that's going to show up in your paint job and you're not going to like it. So make sure you're not using a candy paint that is seeded. Also, candies will always darken things. You cannot use them to lighten a paint job. Alright? Doesn't matter how light they are, there is no candy white. So it doesn't matter how light they are, if you're using the lightest candy yellow out there, it will not make your paint job lighter, only darker. If you layer it enough times, it's going to keep getting darker. Very little each time with something like that, because those light yellows have such a low color value, but it will keep getting darker. The darker the candy, the less coats you'll need to achieve that full dark deep look, because they get darker quicker. But don't make the mistake of thinking that you can go in and do a candy paint job and then lighten it up with a different color after. It won't work. You would have to actually repaint the entire thing in your base color and then come in with the candies again. You can't do spot touch-ups with them either, really. Because they're so transparent, any kind of overlap that's not even will show. This is why candy paint jobs on things like cars are so expensive and time-consuming. They're very, very specialized. Because anywhere where you've got more paint overlapping than the rest, it's going to show up due to that transparency. So whereas you would normally do a 50% overlap with a color, a lot of people use up to a 90% overlap with candies, and they spray them on thin and are very, very careful about it. So keep that in mind. Don't try and do a full candy paint job on something expensive. If you've never tried it before, it's going to be a challenge for you. And that's about it. Just be careful with it. I just wanted to clarify what it actually is, because a lot of people don't understand the concept of a candy paint job. Candy red isn't a color, it's an entirely different thing. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions about this, let me know, or anything else really. And thanks for watching. Good luck with your projects.